Merry me, Annie here. It's the end of Subs Week on Pagan Perspective and my turn to talk a little bit. And I'm kind of glad I ended up going last this week because I had a chance to look at the two videos the other subs did and think about the subject during the week, and I even played with it a little bit. So thank you to Dorsition. Are we getting close to saying it right yet? We're taking lessons and I think we're trainable, but I think we're still doing strange things to your name. So if it's not Dorsition, then I apologize. We're still not what we need to be on your name. And thank you, because you are very often an active participant here, and we certainly appreciate that. When the hosts and the subs do videos, it's awfully nice to have a chance to have an exchange and get to know some of you a little better. And you had sent in a question which was proposing that if you want to establish a relationship with a magical place, which is how you described it, what about taking an item, an object, and taking it in half and taking half of it to that place? And I think the idea then being that when you were in your place, that you have a connection to, a bit of a mystical connection to the other place that would tie you to it. I've done something that I think creates the same end result, but not exactly the same way, and that is, there aren't too many things that I would feel comfortable breaking up or taking apart or splitting in half. So I was a little bit stymied on what I might do that actually broke something apart and took a half of it to another place and kept it half with me. However, it's very common for me to carry extra pebbles with me when I go on walks, or when I've traveled especially. I've had the opportunity to visit some really beautiful places. And nothing against where I live, there's beautiful places here too, but there are places that I felt a spiritual connection. So I'll use an example. I live in Delaware, which is on the east coast of the United States. And I have family in Washington State, which is almost on the west coast. But it really is very west coast because my parents have a place they go to on the Oregon coast, right on the ocean, on the cliffside there. And there is a place there that is just unbelievable and deeply moving and very spiritual to me. I have no doubt that it is on a ley line. I know that it was a gathering place for ancient Native American tribes. And it is just a very, very special cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Now, I never would have thought to split something in half. Either something I'm from home and leave half there, or split something in half there and bring the half back with me. However, and I think this is the same kind of energy, I gladly leave an offering from the place I call home, from here on the East Coast, in that place that comes from my own home, and in return take something from that place to bring back with me. It's always an exchange, never taking something, but exchanging something. And I think why it might be the similar thing to what you were talking about is the energy then is that when I hold that object that represents and came from that very special place, in this example, the place in Oregon, which I just find so beautiful and moving, I can sit clear on the other side of the United States holding that small rock that I exchanged for one from home, and I do feel the connection. I do feel the energy and the flow, and I can put myself in that other place in addition to being in my own place. So that would be, I think, a similar kind of thing, where there's an exchange of items that connect you to a place. And I probably wouldn't take something and leave it. I would always probably have the instinct to exchange something for something that's there. And it's easy for me, I always keep small pebbles on hand for exactly that kind of thing. Even just going for a walk in a park locally, and there's just a moment when a place is just so beautiful and so perfect and it inspires you in some way. Leaving something and taking something in exchange, and then having that thing to have at home so that the next day or the next week or who knows when, I feel like going back to that place to recapture the way it felt. So to me it's more about an exchange. And to be connected to another place, to me it wouldn't work to take something from my place, from the here and now, and split it and leave part of it there, that would not connect me to the other place. I would need to have something from the other place. So I think the energy is the same. I certainly would think that what you are suggesting would work. For me, it won't. There has to be an exchange. I couldn't just take something. And can't think of too many things I'd be comfortable taking in half. Now, I have taken things from home to someplace else and left them in gratitude or as an offering. And they were not meant to tie me to that place going forward, because they were meant to be an offering. Left there intentionally, and then me disconnected from that offering and stepping back from it. Another thing I thought of that was really interesting is, this is just grew off as a total going sideways from what you had mentioned in the note that you sent us, and that was that when you said magical place, my mind then thought of, well, magical place can be a place not of this world. And in that case, it was really interesting. I was thinking, how might I exchange a token of this place for the other place? And I was thinking at the same time you had made in your comments about actually splitting something. And the room that is my altar room in the history of this house was a bedroom, and on the back of the door is a full-length mirror, which would have been a dressing mirror in the days in which the room was a bedroom. And that mirror has taken me on actually many pretty fantastic meditative, magical journeys. And it's actually become one of my magic mirrors, and it's nothing more than a clothing mirror that hung on the back of a door. So I sat in front of that with a rock in my hand and held the rock up so that I was right at the mirror with my hands right up against the mirror, where I could see the rock in my hand. And then I saw, of course, which is working with a mirror often, this is something you can do, I saw myself on the other side of the mirror with my own hands coming out to touch myself. And there I saw, rock to rock, hand to hand, the two as a reflection of each other, which had that feeling of something split apart that you were talking about. And in my magic working, I became the reflection of myself in the mirror and that rock, and then I took a journey on the other side of the mirror. And it was the rock which was the starting place, and it was the rock that I came back to, the connector or the grounding and centering portal, we could say, between those two worlds. The world on this side that was holding the rock, the world on the outside, on the other side that was holding the rock, and then by moving and becoming that person and that rock instead of the one on this side. I guess I'm only sharing that because it was kind of like going to the magical place you talked about, and it was splitting something in the sense that the one rock became two rocks out of the same rock. So there's the two places that what you said took me this week. So from a magical perspective, leaving something and taking something back from places is a way to be most genuinely and powerfully attached to the other place. And it's also a way when you are in the other place and have something from your home place that you are tied back to your home even when you're someplace else. Thought about it from place to place, from special place to special place in the here and now, and also then thought about what could something like that be when we're talking about journeying, about doing some astral work. So there's my thoughts on that, and I enjoyed thinking about that this week, and thank you for the lead-in for what ended up being a wonderful astral journey that I took. Really feeling like the rock that I held in my hand had split into two rocks, one the rock on this side and one the rock on the other side. And I thought that was very much in keeping with what you were talking about in traveling to a magical place. And of course, there's also the magical places which are very much of this world. So I hope I picked up on some of what your intent for your question was, and I'll watch the comments to see if you have anything to share with me. I'll be glad to talk about it further in comments. Thanks for having sent us that to begin with. It was very interesting. I wish you all mirth and reverence. Merry part.